14 spine-chilling midnight shift horrors exposed, terrifying tales that haunt the haunted sleep. Mia sat in the dim glow of their living room, the flickering light from the TV casting eerie shadows that danced on the walls. Midnight had long passed, and her mother, Jenna, was still out working another grueling shift at the hospital. Alone. Every creak of the house felt like a whisper from the darkness, reminding her that she was the last one awake in their little suburban oasis of safety that had suddenly turned sinister. The house next door had become a ghostly enigma since old Mr. Wilson moved in, a man whose presence loomed like a fog, suffocating any comfort she once felt. Tonight, the silence hung heavy, punctuated only by the hollow sound of her own heartbeat and the muffled murmurs of bad reality TV. She flicked through channels, frustration building as yet another friend ignored her texts. Shadows shifted just beyond her peripheral vision, drawing her gaze back to Mr. Wilson's house. Was he watching? For weeks now, she thought she'd seen glimpses of movement behind his tattered curtains, strange flickers that sent chills racing down her spine. She shook her head, trying to rationalize it. Old men were supposed to be harmless, right? Then, a chilling scream broke through her thoughts, a sound that wasn't from her TV. Had it come from outside? Panic gripped her as she crossed the living room, peering through the window just in time to see a figure darting between trees in Mr. Wilson's yard. Heart thumping, Mia felt dread pool in her stomach. Maybe it was her imagination. Just like her friends had said, maybe Mr. Wilson was an innocuous old man, but the whispers at school told a different story. Did you hear about the girl who went missing? The words played in her head, echoing doubts and fears as she flicked off the TV. The news had traveled through the school like wildfire, and speculations had grown murkier with every passing day. What if Mr. Wilson was somehow connected? Mouth dry, she remembered Jenna's late-night texts asking if she was okay. Yes, of course I am, she replied while glancing at the neighbor's house. She swore she saw movement again, a shadow shift, a dark figure fading back into the gloom. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Steeling herself, the terror inside her began to morph into something else, a determination rooted in the protective instinct of a daughter. Mia grabbed her jacket, the chilly night air wrapping around her like a shroud as she stepped outside. The street lamps flickered ominously, casting distorted shadows that seemed to whisper secrets of their own. She edged closer to the weathered fence separating their properties, breath hitching in her throat. And then she heard it, a voice barely above a murmur, crying echoes of pleading desperation. It was unmistakable, the heartfelt cries of the little girl who had vanished weeks ago. Fear exploded within her chest as she stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the uneven grass. Every instinct screamed for her to run, to escape the wave of dread crashing over her. But just as she turned to flee, her eyes locked onto Mr. Wilson. There he stood, in his yard, a chilling smile stretched across his face, one that shimmered with knowing delight amidst the darkness. Was he waiting for her? And with that look, every sense of safety evaporated, leaving only question marks that hung in the air like thick fog, smothering her heart beneath the weight of uncertainty. Would Jenna come home to a daughter lost to shadows, or was this just the beginning of a nightmare unexpectedly wrought upon their suburban life? Mia's heart pounded furiously as she stood frozen, the stark reality of Mr. Wilson's sinister grin penetrating her every thought. In that moment, the cool night air felt suffocating, binding her feet to the ground like shackles. The whispers of the little girl echoed louder, wrenching at her courage. "Help me!" The soft voice was punctuated with sobs that dug into her skin like icy claws. Was she truly imagining it? Had fear twisted her mind into a cruel game? No. This was real. The horror dawning upon her made the shadowy figure before her even more terrifying, not just an old man, but a gatekeeper to some dark secret. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Mia turned on her heel, gasping as she sprinted towards the front door. Her body felt electric, each limb screaming for escape as she could feel his eyes boring into her back. She could almost hear him speak, his voice laced with amusement, taunting her racing thoughts. "Where are you going, Mia?" The door slammed shut behind her, trapping the chilling air outside. She fumbled for her phone, hands trembling as a wave of sweat pooled at her brow. Dialing her mom's number felt like trying to connect with a distant planet so hopelessly out of reach. The line rang with an agonizing slowness, the hollowness of her home amplifying each vibration against the floorboards. Then it hit her, a frenzied thought, a plan more ridiculous than smart. The basement. She needed to gather evidence. Uncover the truth behind those haunting shadows and the mysterious air surrounding Mr. Wilson. What if there was something down there that tied him to the girl? Shaking off her fear, Mia ventured into the darkness of the hallway. The stairs down to the basement creaked ominously beneath her feet, each step deepening the sense of dread that wrapped around her. It was cold, the air dank and musty, as if it held secrets long buried. The thin beam of her phone's light sliced through the shadows, revealing cobwebs in corners and dust swirling in the still air. Her heart rate spiked, every creak of the old house amplified her fears. She stepped into the vast, dark room and scanned the corners. The shelves were filled with old boxes, remnants of lives lived long ago. But something was off. The space held an unnatural stillness, as if waiting, holding its breath. Her fingers grazed over boxes until a glimmer caught her eye, a small wooden chest, pressed against a wall. She hesitated but felt a magnetic pull compelling her to find out what was inside. With a deep breath, she knelt beside it and fumbled with the latch. A sudden noise, like a shuffling sound upstairs, made her snap her head up. Heart racing, she silenced her breath, straining to hear. Was her mom home? Had her presence alerted him? "Mom?" she whispered, her voice hesitant, laced with trepidation. Nothing. Rushing to open the chest, she pried it open and gasped. Inside lay photos, small, faded images of the girl, her smile bright against the backdrop of the park where Mia often played. It made her stomach churn, the realization creeping in that he had been watching them, keeping records. Memories preserved like trophies. Suddenly, the floor above creaked heavily. She heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps, slow, methodical, drawing closer. Panic surged through Mia as she snatched the photos, stuffing them into her pocket. The air thickened, dark shadows twisting around her in sinister anticipation. With a fierce resolve, she darted back to the stairs, desperate for the safety of the living room, when the chilling thought struck her: was her mother safe? "Mia, are you down there?" The voice echoed from above, familiar yet tremulous. Mia's heart sank. It wasn't her mother. As realization dawned upon her, the footsteps stopped, and she felt the icy grip of fear close in. She needed to act. She needed to escape. But could she confront the truth first? The echoing call beckoned one last time, "Mia, come out," and with that, shadows deepened, leaving her with one horrifying question: who really awaited her upstairs? Mia's breath quickened, her mind racing as she stood paralyzed in the dark, the photos clutched tightly in her trembling hand. Shadows loomed larger in the dim glow of her phone. The oppressive silence hung thick, punctuated only by the chilling call from above. "Come out, Mia," the voice called again, this time harsher, like gravel scraping against metal. It sent sharp spikes of panic through her veins. She couldn't stay in the basement, not while he was there, lurking just above her. She turned, heart thumping loudly in her ears. Each creak of the wooden stairs under her feet felt like a countdown. Could he sense her fear? The flicker of her phone light cast dancing shadows around the basement, transforming every corner into a potential hiding spot for who or what lay in wait. With a burst of adrenaline, Mia sprinted towards the stairs, the wooden rungs slick and treacherous as she ascended. What if he had already barricaded the door? What if escape was impossible? She reached the top and halted, ears straining for any sound. The house felt unnaturally quiet now, the kind of silence that pressed against your chest like an unseen weight. Mia, no. That isn't her mother. Every instinct in her body screamed to turn back, but the fire of urgency propelled her feet forward. She reached for the doorknob, fingers slick with sweat. The metal felt cold as ice against her skin. She hesitated. If he was close, revealing her presence might be a fatal mistake. The lock turned with an agonizing slowness, the click echoing in her brain like a death knell. She paused, holding her breath as she twisted the knob and slowly pushed the door open. Empty. Just the dim glow of the hallway light flickering overhead. It felt like a cruel joke. Where was he? It was too quiet for comfort, as though the house itself was holding its breath, waiting to unleash whatever horror had been lurking all along. Her heart raced as she peered into the corridor. Awaiting shadows lurked, creeping along the walls. She turned back to glance at the staircase, and that's when she saw it. A figure emerged from the darkness, stepping into her line of sight. It was him, Mr. Wilson, his grin somehow wider. "Mia," he drawled, voice a sickly sweet charm, "I was hoping you'd join me." The door thudded shut behind her, and panic surged through her core. He was blocking her escape. "What do you want?" she croaked, surprised by the defiance creeping into her voice. "It's not what I want, dear. It's what you need." His eyes glimmered with a manic light as he leaned closer. "You have something that belongs to me." Mia's hand instinctively flew to her pocket where the girl's photos rested, the contact a jarring reminder of the urgency that flooded her veins. She backed away cautiously, but there was nowhere to go. The walls seemed to close in, pressing her back toward the shadows. His voice dropped to a whisper, sinister and inviting. "Let me show you." The air crackled with undeniable dread, the basement door now a horrifying memory. She sensed his intent, a deep desire to pull her into his world of secrets and terror. The photo of the little girl, now burning a hole in her pocket, seemed to pulse with a freakish energy. "Why?" Mia managed, her voice quivering, as she felt the suffocating weight of his presence. He cocked his head, like a raven assessing its prey, then smiled wider, baring a set of unnaturally sharp teeth. "Because, dear Mia, you are the key." Blood rushed in her ears as the world began to tunnel, darkness creeping at the edges of her vision. Suddenly, a new sound pierced the air, a loud crash, followed by a scream from somewhere deep in the house. Was it her mom? "Mia! Get out!" With a fierce instinct to protect, she pushed past Mr. Wilson, ready to fight her way forward. The immediate impulse to save her mother ignited a fire within, but as she darted into the hallway, she collided with a barrier of cold darkness. It wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. "Where do you think you're going?" Mr. Wilson's voice hissed from the shadows, and in that moment, she realized he wasn't just a predator. He was the keeper of secrets that could unravel her world forever. And just like that, the darkness began to twist and spiral, leaving her breathless in the face of an unspeakable truth. What lay ahead? What darkness had she stepped into? The scream echoed again, louder. The answer lurked within the secrets of the night, and it was waiting for her to unlock it. Mia stumbled back, her heart racing uncontrollably. She could still feel the sharpness of Mr. Wilson's presence cutting through the air, a predator lurking in the shadows. The scream from inside the house crashed against her like a wave, reminding her of what was at stake. "Get out!" Her mother's desperate voice echoed through the corridor, sending shockwaves of urgency through Mia's limbs. Panic fueled her feet, and she turned away from Mr. Wilson, praying he wouldn't follow. The hallway stretched on, too long and too dark. Every step echoed, reverberating ominously through the silence. She could still see the flickering light casting long, angry shadows that danced around her. The world felt contorted, as though the very fabric of the house was shifting, bending to the will of some unseen force. "Mia," the whisper slithered into her ears again. It was softer this time, coiling around her mind like a serpent. It was coming from behind her. She glanced over her shoulder, and for a split second, she thought she saw him standing at the edge of the light, that sickly grin forming on his lips. In a rush, she turned back and moved faster, heart pounding like a war drum. The cold air wrapped around her, as though it were alive, breathing with her fears, feeding off her despair. She reached the door that led outside, fingers trembling as she fumbled with the knob. It wouldn't budge. A cold wave of dread washed over her. "No. Please, please," she whispered, panic clawing at her throat. She could hear his footfalls behind her, so soft, yet so haunting. "Let us not rush the fun," he purred, with a voice that sent chills racing down her spine. With everything inside her pushing back against the weight of fear, Mia slammed her shoulder against the door, again and again, until it finally swung open, nearly sending her sprawling into the pitch-dark night. She didn't stop. The darkness enveloped her like a shroud, the moonlight just a dim guide through the vast emptiness of the yard. In her haste, she nearly tripped over a garden gnome, the porcelain figure now an ominous silhouette in the night. "Mia! In here!" A familiar voice, her mother's, urged from somewhere beyond a wall of trees. The site of the old sycamore stood tall, silhouetted against the moon, and Mia sprinted for it. Crouching low behind the thick trunk, she glanced back towards the house. Her heart sank. Mr. Wilson emerged, his features illuminated by the porch light, turning his sneer into an impossibly twisted smile now filled with malice. "It's a game, Mia. You can't run forever," he taunted, his voice echoing in the stillness. As she huddled in the shadows, the night seemed to thicken around her. She could hear rustling, or was it her imagination? What if he was right? What if this was some kind of sick game? Mia pressed her hands to her ears, wishing the sounds would drown out. "Mia, hurry." Her mother's voice was insistent again, slicing through her thoughts. "Mom!" She called out, looking into the dark, seeking the warmth of her mother's presence. Each second felt like an eternity, haunted and heavy, as sounds danced around her, cries, whispers, and footsteps all merging into an unsettling cacophony. Suddenly, there was a snap of branches. Mia's heart dropped. Mr. Wilson was coming. The shadows shifted, and she caught a glimpse of him moving swiftly, like smoke in the night. "Mia! Come here!" The urgency in her mother's voice fueled her legs. Fear propelled her forward, away from the dark figure creeping ever closer. She pushed through the thicket towards a faint glow, her mother's light shining like a beacon, guiding her through the nightmare. What she didn't know was that she was already walking deeper into the abyss. Was her mother truly waiting, or was it yet another trap? The thought chilled her blood as she sprinted on, barely aware of the danger closing in. As she crossed the threshold of the grove, the flickering light brightened around her, but the laughter echoed louder, too mocking, menacing, that suffocating feeling of dread returning. A strangled gasp caught in her throat. As realization washed over her, the voice was not her mother's. What had she just entered into? And would she ever break free from Mr. Wilson's haunting grasp? The shadows danced ever closer, waiting, and Mia realized the true game had only just begun. Her heart drummed in her chest, each beat a warning. The voice, so familiar yet twisted, wove itself into the fabric of the night, a siren call laced with malice. Mia hesitated, her instincts screaming for her to turn back, yet her legs carried her deeper into the grove. The cold air seemed to thicken, filled with an energy that tasted metallic on her tongue. Mia, the whisper felt closer now, wrapping around her like dead vines, creeping and suffocating. She forced herself to swallow against rising dread, the weight of the shadow of what she had escaped pressing cold, clammy hands against her heart. Branches clawed at her as she pushed forward, panic morphing into desperation. Had her mother really called for her? Or was it just another haunting trick orchestrated by Mr. Wilson? The thought threatened to choke her. The flickering light pulsed ahead, its glow promising safety, yet every step towards it felt like a step into darkness. "Mia!" The voice surged again, this time more insistent, breaking through the fog of uncertainty. "Mom!" she cried out, desperation bleeding her voice raw. "Where are you?" But the only response was a deepening stillness, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. Just as she was about to dart towards the light, laughter cracked through the air, a low, throaty sound that sent chills racing down her spine. "There you are!" Mr. Wilson's voice echoed, sorrowful and mocking. The voice traveled through the trees, bouncing off the darkness, twisting around her. "Do you want to play?" Shadows curled and danced at the edges of her vision. She turned to run, but the laughter only grew, an eerie melody, a taunt that punctured through the night. A sickening fear threatened to swallow her whole. She stumbled into a clearing, the pale moonlight flooded the space, illuminating the surreal scene before her. There, at the center, stood something unnatural. It looked like a mirror, but the surface was murky, rippling like water disturbed by an unseen force. Strange figures twisted within it, beckoning her closer, their faces blurred yet familiar. "Mia," they whispered, a chorus of voices, each one a promise and a threat. They held her gaze, pulling her in. "It's your turn, no!" she shrieked, backing away. The laughter wrapped around her, solidifying her fear. She felt a tug at her heart, the shadows from the mirror reaching out, trying to grasp her, to pull her into their icy depths. Just then, the ground trembled, and a shudder coursed through her. She could still hear her mother's voice, a desperate plea that cut through the chaos. "Mia! I need you!" With newfound resolve born of terror, Mia turned away from the mirror and sprinted back the way she had come, branches slashing at her skin, sharp as the dark laughter that wanted to drown her. Her instincts screamed for her to escape, to find her mother, but what other horrors awaited beyond the trees? "Mia! You can't escape your fate!" The echo of Mr. Wilson rang in her ears, chasing her like a specter determined to drag her back into darkness. Suddenly, she noticed a flicker of something in the distance, a movement. Was it her mother? Heart pounding, she pushed through the dense foliage, leaving the mirror behind her, a sinister whisper warning her not to look back, but as she neared the light, an overwhelming sense of dread returned. The glow did not seem to grow stronger but flickered uncertainly, like a candle in a storm. The moment she burst into the clearing, a freeze enveloped her, holding her breath hostage. "Mom?" she gasped, scanning the area. But the light revealed no one. Just an empty, suffocating space where hope had danced moments before. "Mia," the voice came again, this time from the other side, and she felt her blood run cold. What had she walked into? Standing there, in the choking silence and thick disillusionment, she wondered, was this indeed her mother on the other side of the darkness, or had she fallen deeper into the game, trapped in a nightmare lower than the last? The shadows hung heavier now, waiting, hungry, and the truth lurked just out of sight. The shadows throbbed, pulsating like a dark heart. Mia stood frozen, unable to decide if she should call again, plead desperately for her mother, or flee into the inky abyss that surrounded her. The fear was sharp, slicing through her thoughts and filling her with a chilling sense of hopelessness. The echo of her name twisted around her like a serpent, squeezing tighter with each repetition. Her eyes darted through the darkness, searching for any sign of her mother. Was this the realm of Mr. Wilson's making? A stage where he played with her family's despair, where he manipulated the very essence of love and fear? "Mom!" she cried, her voice a mere whisper against the overwhelming silence. The darkness loomed closer, eager to smother her sound. Then, the flickering light seemed to tremble with her cry, intensifying ever so slightly. It beckoned her, like a firefly flicking above a swamp. Mia took a step forward, drawn to its half-hopeful glow. Each beat of her heart drummed a primal rhythm, urging her to risk it all. But as she advanced, the voices shifted, melding into an anguished wail that resonated from behind her. "Mia, come play with us." The sinister melody slithered through her ears, chilling her blood, taunting her with sweet memories now twisted grotesquely. She whirled around, but the darkness only betrayed her with silence. Was it Mr. Wilson's trickery? Or something worse, something hungry for her soul? Mia. The voice cried out again, clearer now but tinged with despair. The despair of a mother lost. An image of her mother's face flooded her mind, determined and full of love. A visceral longing surged within Mia's chest. She needed to reach her, come what may. Again, she lunged toward the light, but a sound crackling, like dry leaves underfoot, echoed from behind her, halting her momentarily. She turned back, dread pooling in her stomach. The shadows seemed alive, holding their breath as if waiting for her next move. Then, a figure stepped forward from the darkness, mist swirling around them like shrouded cloth. It was tall, too tall, and limbs grotesquely elongated. Mia's breath caught in her throat. "Mom?" She choked, dread weighing heavy on her chest. The figure raised an arm, gliding forward eerily slow. A familiar voice spilled from the shadow, but it was not her mother's. "You came for her, didn't you? So brave yet so foolish." It was Mr. Wilson, mocking her with that sinister grin. He leaned closer, his eyes glinting like knives in the dark. "This isn't a game. This is what happens when you ignore the rules." The words wrapped around her like chains, binding her into place. The oppressive air thickened, making it hard to breathe. She shoved through the fear, desperate to find her mother among the other figures coiled in the shadows. "Let her go. She hasn't done anything to you." With every plea, darkness coiled tighter, and laughter erupted around her, a chorus of tortured sound, a mix of familiar faces writhing in the black void, stretching and contorting, begging for release. Mia's heart raced, a raw, primal fight taking hold. There had to be a way out. She could almost hear her mother's soothing voice threatening to wash over the chaos. "Trust yourself," it whispered, but the shadows drowned it, misplaced and distorted. With a surge of determination, Mia sprinted toward the flickering light, driven by the instinct to survive. But the ground shook, and the laughter crescendoed, echoing like an avalanche. She could feel the darkness closing in, clawing at her ankles, trying to ground her in this nightmare. Just as she reached the edge of the light, something grasped her wrist, a cold, clammy hand that sent shockwaves of terror right through her. "Mia!" The panicked voice came not from her mother, but from the shadows, pleading like a siren's call. Would she break free and uncover the truth? Or would she succumb to the shadows and their twisted game? In that breathless moment, holding her light, with darkness thrumming at her back, Mia realized her battle was only just beginning. What lurked in the shadows awaited, hungry for answers and blood. Mia felt the icy fingers tighten around her wrist, pulling her back toward the suffocating darkness. Heart racing, she jerked away, but the grip was stronger than fear. She stumbled, falling to her knees. The laughter, a cacophony of grim delight, echoed around her, taunting with a viciousness that clawed at her sanity. "Let go!" she screamed, voice cracking mid-plea. In response, cold breath whispered in her ear, swirling with the damp scent of decay. It was a voice that warped and twisted. "Stop fighting, dear child. Join us. Embrace the shadows." Mia pressed her palms onto the ground, seeking some semblance of grounding. The soil felt alive, pulse reverberating under her touch like a heartbeat resonating in tandem with her own. A flicker of resolve ignited. "I won't give in. I'll find my mother." The determination surged through her like a hot knife cutting through ice. Pushing against the darkness, she scrambled to her feet, propelling herself forward toward the light that danced just out of reach. The light flickered wildly, teasing her with flashes of warmth and hope. But the shadows hissed, shifting like a living thing. Tendrils reached out, brushing against her skin like the hands of lost souls, pulling her backward as if they craved her essence. She fought against them, hoisting herself toward the beckoning glow. A flash of a familiar face, a disheveled silhouette against the blistering gloom. "Mia! Don't look back." It was her mother's voice, urgent yet distant. "Mom!" The desperate shout broke from her lips, carrying her over the brooding darkness. In that moment, the shadows recoiled, confusion rippling through them like a disturbed pool. With adrenaline coursing, Mia took another leap towards the light, but the ground quaked beneath, as if the very earth wanted to swallow her whole. She could feel the terror mounting behind her, a wall of dark energy eager to close in. Stumbling into the blinding brightness, she gasped as her surroundings shifted, forcing her into a din of familiar sights flashing before her eyes apart from her childhood, the smell of popcorn at the fair, laughter ringing in clear tones. Yet something felt warped. It was all too bright, too exaggerated, as if each memory was draped in a film of distortion. "Come play with us," the voice echoed again, this time out from the midst of the memories. They all warped grotesquely, faces flashing in and out, carving smiles that twisted with malice. She blinked, forcing herself to confront them. "This isn't real," Mia shouted, conviction mingling with fear. The figures paused, their expressions turning reptilian and predatory. They encircled her, laughter vibrating like a low thunder that filled the air. "If it's not real, why do you fear us?" one whispered, eyes glinting with a mix of mirth and hunger. Mia felt the room tilting, everything bending toward despair. "Because I know love is stronger," she shot back, pressing her palms to her ears, trying to block out the maddening cacophony. "I just want my mother." "Then you must play the game, dear," the voice chimed again, now seductive, coaxing. "Find her before the shadows claim her forever." Her heart froze at the dread, the shadows coiling tighter as they loomed closer, wraith-like faces smirking in glee. She turned abruptly, eyes darting desperately as if looking for the way out of this disjointed nightmare. "Where are you?" she called, breathless, but silence returned, heavy and smug. Then, a sudden chill skittered down her spine. Something rustled in the underbrush beside her, and she turned just as the ground shifted once more. A figure emerged, the light glinted against a familiar face. "Mia," it called softly, a hint of desperation lacing the voice, enticing her forward. It wasn't her mother. It was something worse. A shiver coursed through her, it was too familiar. "No. You're not real," she yelled, backing away as shadows crept closer, curling around her calves, whispering for her surrender. "Are you sure?" The figure smiled wider, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp, too eager. "Mom!" Mia's voice rose to a shriek. The walls of her sanity flickering like the lamp at the edge of her vision. Whatever the truth was, it lay hidden beneath the layers of reality she had to peel away. Before she could react, darkness surged forward. The laughter crescendoed and the world dissolved again, thrusting Mia deeper into the unknown realm where shadows played, and her fight for the truth brought her closer to the edge of despair. What awaited her in that darkness? Would she find her mother, or discover something else, something unspeakable? Mia plunged forward into the darkness, sucked into an abyss that seemed to pulse with life. The laughter faded, but the remnants of it still danced in her ears like twisted echoes, fraying her sense of reality. In the pitch black, she reached out, hands flailing, seeking something, anything to hold on to. A heavy fog surrounded her, thickening with every shuddering breath. Shadows coiled around her, pressing down like a weight on her chest, smothering the flicker of hope she clutched. "Mom!" she cried again, the sound lost in the darkness, swallowed without a trace. Suddenly, a flash of dim light cut through the obscurity ahead. It flickered like a dying star, pulsating in a rhythmic pattern that drew her closer. She sprinted toward it, desperation fueling her steps. It felt like a lifeline, a promise of escape, but as she arrived, the light exploded into a kaleidoscope of color. It morphed into a twisted carnival scene, popping balloons and spinning rides. An eerily cheerful tune floated through the air, mocking her like a distant memory. The joyful chaos felt wrong, an ugly masquerade of festivity layered over the grim reality she'd left behind. "Welcome back, Mia," a voice chimed, bright and saccharine. The shadows around her twisted and melded into the shapes of familiar faces, wearing smiles that could only be described as sinister. "Did you miss us?" "No. she shouted, horror rising in her throat. Her heart pounded violently. Get away from me. They only laughed harder, grating against her nerves, igniting a fire of dread in her gut. The figures moved closer, morphing into her childhood friends, their eyes glinting with a hollow joy. We just want to play, Mia. Come join us. Panic coursed through her like ice water. She turned to flee but stumbled again as the ground shifted beneath her feet. It felt alive, undulating as if the earth were in agony. Suddenly, she was back in the park, the familiar childhood playground now a grotesque version of itself. The swings creaked, swinging on their own with a heavy, ominous rhythm, the slide loomed, a dark tunnel emptying into an inky void. She heard whispering again her mother's name, sweet and haunting, luring her closer. Mom. But it twisted, distorting into a chorus of voices that hissed, You'll never find her. Arms outstretched, the shadows lunged forward, brushing against her skin, cold and clammy. A wave of despair flooded her thoughts. What if she never saw her mother again? What if the darkness swallowed them both? Think, Mia. She urged herself. What are you afraid of? The shadows paused. Fear is the key, they taunted. Let it in. Surrender. No. Her voice was a shrill declaration. She anchored her motivation in the sweet memories of her mother's laughter, her guiding light on dark nights. The shadows were not real. This was a trick, an elaborate setup to scare her into submission. Staggering backward, she caught her breath. She clenched her fists, locking away the icy terror and replacing it with determination. I will find her. She declared. I will destroy you. The shadows writhed, deepening the darkness that surrounded her. You cannot fight what is part of you, dear child. You will never escape. With courage ignited, Mia sprinted toward the shadows, ready to face whatever awaited her. But just as she approached the swirling masquerade of horror, the ground split open, revealing a deep, yawning chasm. A heart-stopping scream echoed, and she skidded to a stop, staring into the abyss. What lay beneath was worse than she had imagined, a writhing mass of shadowy forms reaching for her, each one a reflection of her worst nightmares. Mom! She screamed again, voice cracking. The darkness inhaled sharply, as if ready to claim her. Would she be pulled into the depths and lose herself, or could she find the light that still flickered at the edge of her vision? The shadows grew restless while Mia teetered at the brink. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the answer. She had to find what was waiting below. And was she strong enough to confront it? Mia stood at the edge of the chasm, the shadows writhing below, their twisted forms clawing at the air, desperate for her. Each pulse of darkness sent a shiver down her spine. With each beat, fear surged through her, tightening its grip like a vice. Yet, she clung to the flicker of light, the faint glow at the edge of her perception, reminding her of her mother. Mom! It came out as a whisper, desperate and raw. The abyss responded with a dreadful silence, pregnant with unuttered promises. The laughter of her childhood friends faded into a sinister hum, a reminder that she was not alone in this nightmare. A surge of anger flared within her. They wanted her to surrender, to give in to the panic that clawed at her insides. You're all just shadows. She yelled, knowing the words were as much for herself as for them. You can't take me. With each word, the ground trembled. The shadows recoiled as if stung, their laughter replaced by a low, growling rasp. They wanted her to doubt, to fear again. But Mia found footing, forcing her body to stand firm. Then, movement at the edge of the chasm caught her eye. Something was rising from the depths. A figure, distorted and flickering, slowly stepped into the fray. It was the silhouette of her mother, the faint outline shimmering beneath a layer of swirling smoke. Mia! It breathed her name, tender yet laced with something foreign. Mama! The word burst from her lips, a lifeline thrown into chaos, but as the figure advanced, Mia stepped back. The woman's face twisted, features shifting like a mirage. You must let me go, she said, voice layered with shadows. You've always feared the darkness, my love. You must embrace it no. The panic returned, fierce and wild, tearing through her resolve. I won T. Where are you? Where is my mom? The abyss stirred, and Mia could feel the icy pull of despair. It was a siren call, promising relief from the struggle. But in her heart, the flicker of light grew more intense. Her mother's laughter rang clearer, a memory surfacing in the suffocating gloom. I won T. Give in. She shouted, eyes narrowing at the phantom. Not now. Not ever. The shadows hissed, writhing in fury. The edges of the chasm darkened, crawling with the malevolent energy of despair. Fear drives us, dear one. Let it wash over you. They slithered closer, seeking to drown her in their icy grasp. Mia closed her eyes, drowning out their cacophony. The laughter, the music from the carnival, the taunts all rolled into a singular wave. Instead of allowing it in, she recalled her mother's face, the warmth that filled her on the coldest nights. With eyes still shut tight, a surge of love replaced her fear. She stepped forward, feeling the ground beneath her shift as she called on the light within her. It felt alive, surging like an electric pulse, pushing against the coldness surrounding her. Suddenly, the shadows screeched, their forms flickering. The voice of her mother echoed in her mind, clear and resonant, I will always be with you, Mia. Mia opened her eyes, the light blazing in front of her, illuminating the path ahead. I choose to fight. The words rang out, shaking the essence of the darkness, but then she felt the ground beneath her give way. Her feet slipped as she fell toward the abyss, her scream merging with the shadows. What would lie at the bottom? Would she succumb to the darkness or find the strength to rise above? The light shimmered tantalizingly close, but the pull of despair clawed at her, threatening to drag her down into the void. There was only one way to find out, and as her thoughts spiraled, she braced for impact, heart racing. Mia plunged into the abyss, the darkness enveloping her like a heavy blanket. Cold seeped into her bones, dragging her down deeper into despair. The flicker of light grew dimmer, swallowed by the heaviness of shadows that clawed at her spirit. But just as panic consumed her, something extraordinary happened. A shimmer, barely perceptible at first, erupted from within. It was warmth, a familiar embrace that radiated from the core of her being, igniting the love she had for her mother. I want to let go, she screamed into the suffocating void. You can't have me. With that resolve, the energy surged, forcing the darkness back an inch, then a mile. Suddenly, Mia felt a jolt, as if the ground had solidified just beneath her. She landed hard but stood steady, her feet firm on the ground. The shadows sneered, their confusion igniting a flicker of fear within them. They pushed forward, but Mia had awoken the fire inside her. Her heart raced, courage mingling with rage. You're not in control of me. The shadows hissed at her, their forms swirling, trying to motivate her to doubt herself again. You think you can fight the darkness? It will always be a part of you. Their words dripped with mockery, but she pushed through, each step grounded in determination. Mia remembered her mother's voice, reassuring and strong. It empowered her as the chill around her faded, replaced by a warmth that spread throughout her soul. Mom! She shouted, each syllable a reminder of what she fought for. This time, the cry didn't feel rehearsed or desperate, it felt commanding. Suddenly, piercing wails filled the air as the shadows recoiled, their forms rippling like water disturbed. Stop! They screeched, but the darkness around her began to unravel. It hissed, collapsing inward as Mia stepped forward with fierce intention. You've taken enough. She proclaimed. I choose my light. And as those words rolled from her lips, she reached toward the flickering warmth, and it exploded into a cascade of radiant energy, illuminating her surroundings. The shadows screeched and writhed, breaking apart and dissipating into nothingness, consumed by the brilliance of love and determination. At that moment, the darkness fully recoiled, leaving behind an expansive light brighter than anything Mia had ever seen. It engulfed her, yet it felt like home, like a rescue. She could almost hear her mother's laughter echoing through the space, a melody that sparked new life within her. "Mia," a familiar voice called out from the light. "I knew you would find me." There her mother appeared, not as a shadow but vibrant and whole, framed by a halo of luminescence. Tears streamed down Mia's cheeks as she raced toward her mother, plunging into the embrace that felt like the sun itself. "I thought I lost you." She wept, clinging tightly. "Never," her mother reassured, holding her close, the warmth washing over them in waves. "You fought bravely. I'm so proud of you." The love pouring from her created a cocoon of safety that banished the last remnants of dread. "Together?" Mia asked, her heart still racing from the chaos they defaced. "Always," her mother replied, wiping away Mia's tears. "The shadows may have lurked in darkness, but they can't exist where love shines bright." As they held on to each other, the radiant light enveloped them, lifting them higher and higher until all the remnants of their fears dissolved into the ether. It felt as if they were soaring, escaping the clutches of horror forever. They emerged from the darkness, feeling the warmth of dawn washing over them. Back in their living room, the TV still flickering mindlessly on the wall cast a gentle glow as if nothing had happened. But everything had changed. Mia looked at her mother, feeling the unbreakable bond that now existed between them, a bond strong enough to light the shadows that threatened to devour them. "Let us go enjoy some pancakes," Jenna smiled, brushing a stray hair from Mia's face. And as they stepped out into the morning, light danced around them, and the weight of fear lifted. "Together," Mia whispered, squeezing her mother's hand affectionately. And it was in that simple, beautiful moment that they knew they were free from the darkness. They could emerge from the shadows, always stronger and always more united than before. This was how the story ended. But a new chapter awaited them, one filled with laughter, love, and the spark of hope that would illuminate every dark corner going forward. Now, you've made it to the end. But don't just sit there. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, we're counting on you. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Finally, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to support the channel. True fans know how much it matters.